We are all connected. So join me as I talk to like-minded people about topics that are appropriate to the current times we are living in. My name is Lerato and this is Relevant. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Relevant with me, Lerato. This is going to be such a great show. I'm talking to a woman I love, admire. The two of us have one thing in common. We are very, 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 very honest. Sometimes to our detriment. She is a phenomenal woman, somebody I'm very lucky to have known for an incredibly long time. She's the first woman in South Africa to anchor the World Cup. So this is really a great moment for me. Radio sportcaster. She's on radio on Power FM, Power Lunch. She's on Super Sports. She's a mama. She's a wife. She will come on Twitter if you act the fool. I'm talking about Mpho Letsholonyane. Mpho,
I'm good. What an intro. Oh my gosh. Like I need to check myself. I really need to check myself. But what an intro. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. I love you, I admire you, and I think we need more women like us, to be honest. And I find, so both you and I are turning 40 this year. I turned 40 in Feb, and you're following in September. So let's start there.
Yes, ma'am.
Our 40th year, we'll never forget it. Like,
yeah, I keep saying to my best friend, who's also just turned 40 in August, at the beginning of August, and he was talking about how for him it's almost like a 39.5, because you wish you could have had this grand entrance into your 40th year, and then COVID was like, whoa, hold my beer. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's been quite a memorable end to the 30s, eh?
Sure. Yeah, we'll never ever ever forget it. I think we have 40. So Jay is like life begins at 40. Okay. So 40 days is like one of those years, and then now we have the added layer of like this thing that is happening. Our lives are not the same. It's just
at all. It's like that year where the world took a gap year, which is just insane. Like, you've had to learn to dig deeper than you've ever dug before in your entire life. You've had to learn to find strength you never thought you had, who your true friends are, what it is that you absolutely are passionate about, because this was not the year to just be floating. This was the year to find your absolute passion, because we needed to find joy in spaces where you never knew it resided at all.
And one of the things I love about you is that you recognize that everybody else is struggling, and you introduce levels of happy, I think it is, and you're giving away prizes every week. And I think that's the one thing we also have in common as well. We like to give to people. What made you go, you know what? Okay, so we're in lockdown. It's not going to be great, but let's spread some cheer. What brought that spark in you to start Levels of Happy?
To be honest with you, Levels of Happy started as it became a concept in my mind when I would go through my talk radio show, and then you get so many people who are talking about their struggles, their daily struggles, and then you also getting the DMs on Twitter, you're getting the DMs on Instagram, on Facebook, people saying, I just need food, everything else I see, I just need food. And unfortunately, you can only give so many people money. Eventually I was like, I need to find a way of just spreading that little bit of joy, that little bit of happy. And that's how Levels of Happy came about. And the reason Levels of Happy is because we went through, from the 21 days of lockdown, we went through, now we're now in level 5, level 4, level, So I was like, oh, okay, so these are the levels of what we're going through right now. And yeah, it's just my way of saying, I'm not able to help everybody, because I have a salary that also has to cover me and the people around me. So this is the little that I can do, utilize the connections that I have to the different industries and see what I can do just to spread a little bit of happiness.
And I always say to people, I love what you said, and I think this is going to be important for everybody listening to us at home, that even when you are flying on a plane, they say save yourself first. So make sure that you can
Yes.
breathe before you help the next person. And I think being able to see what
Yeah.
your salary can cover your family, only then can you move forward and help other people. So we mustn't try to be martyrs. We
True.
must always remember ourselves. But talking about levels, so I think you saw there's a thing that's going around where TBoss was DJing at home, and the kids lumamang umsindo.
Oh,
And he
yes.
said, "Hey Luna, Larasa, kumong." And I wanted to ask you, as somebody who you were also dealing with load shedding, you know what I mean? You were trying to like connect. Can you tell people what that is like? Where, because the studio, for people who have not been to a studio is a very controlled environment. There's a clock
Yeah.
that you're watching. Everything is soundproof. There's
Yeah.
you can't bring drinks into the studio. There's strict rules, and now the studio is your home. So
Yes.
I
Yes.
I think TBoss is not alone. Can we talk about that, the difficulty of that?
Oh gosh. No, TBoss is definitely not alone. I mean, I've had incidents where, because you are at home. So here's what happens in my household. So I wake up in the morning, I wake the kids up, and then I go to the in-home gym. That's my workout. I do my 1 hour workout and then I go shower. But in that time, my son and my daughter have to begin with school, right?
Okay.
So they get going with school, and then at a time when they leave school, because the little one finishes at like 12, and then my daughter finishes at like 1:30, right? So they know that no, not 1:30, 12. So at the time that school is done for them, then it means silence. I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear you, right? So that I can do my show for 2 hours. So from 1 o'clock until 3, that's my time. You're not allowed to get on the internet because, we might have a little bit of lag and so on and so forth. So this has been a routine for a while, but you have those incidents. Like, for instance, in the middle of a link, I'm busy talking to callers or I'm doing an interview, and the 8-year-old will come in and say, Mama, can I please have cookies? And you're like, dog, really? Now's not the time to be asking me for cookies, And then also I've had incidents where he will be upset because I've punished him for something, and then he will come sit right next to me and make these noises that he knows are going to irritate me, just so he can try and get his way. So he's also known how to manipulate the system. So you now have to deal with, okay, there's this person in front of me that I can't exactly say, hey, when I'm busy. So it's just, it's a lot. It's a lot. But they're learning slowly but surely. That one time when I had, there was load shedding in the area and the network just refused to connect. And I had to drive to studio, and my husband had left with my car keys. So that means I had to Uber to work. And this Uber driver was just not feeling me, saying, dude, I am in a rush. I need to get to work. Can we do this as quickly as possible? He was just like, hey, it's easy. Hey, no, hey, you're going to get me fired from my job. I can't speed. I see you're in a rush. Yeah, I get that. I understand. But, there's nothing I can do. I must just stick to the speed limit. Like, yo, I have to go. So, yeah, it's been fun times, right? It's been fun times. But it's just learning now to do things differently. I would have never thought of working from home, doing a radio show from home. It's something that has always been for your elite DJs, who
Yes.
paid their dues. These are the DJs who get to work from home. And then COVID said, no, everybody has to work from home.
That's insane. And I think for me, the thing that's really also funny for all of us is we have come to know the people
who have children who are loud, who have their spouses. We've learned to know them by name, so it's incredibly awkward for all of us. I think it's gonna be like this for a long time. But also
I agree.
you also uh, have a very hectic schedule. You're a working mom, and I was reading an article where you spoke about the guilt that you have is the fact that you don't
Oh
get to
yeah.
see your children often. You know, there was a
Yeah.
time when you were
Yeah.
in metro when your call time was probably 4 a.m. because 5 a.m. you know you were up and talking
You
until
had to
9.
be starting.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
how has that has lockdown helped in that way, because we have to see the gift of this thing. It's not only a curse. So has it helped in terms
True.
of family coming together and spending more time together?
To be honest with you, I'd gone through a period where I'd always said, I'm so afraid of a time when my husband and I are going to be together at home every day, 24/7. What is going to happen? Because he's hardly ever at home, I'm hardly ever at home. So we'd never actually been in the same room for such an extended period of time. So
Mm-hmm.
when this lockdown happened, in the beginning, I had a lot of anxiety because I was like, ooh, this is going to be make or break for us. And then at some point, you're seeing all these couples breaking up and you're like, ooh, what will it
Yo.
going to be next? You know? But the nice thing about it is that it gave us an opportunity to learn each other better. You know, I got to understand more when he needs his space, you know, like when he disappears and he locks himself in another room. I get to understand that that's when he wants his alone time, you know. I got to also understand my children and what it is that they want. Even though right now, to be honest, I'm ready to whoever wants children. I've got a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old. You are more than welcome to come fetch them from my house because I'm enough now.
Yo, I,
I'm good.
you know, I was saying to somebody that like I had an IG live the other day, and I was saying, no matter who you are, no matter how great you, if you are having a, if you're worried about your relationship, it is normal, because we are all going
Yes.
through. I don't care how
Yes.
famous you are, how big
Yes.
your house is,
Oh
how
yeah.
much money
Oh
you've
yeah.
got. We are all in the struggle because when you are
That
not
is
used
true.
to when you travel as couples, okay, when you always see each, and it's nice, you know, oh baby,
Yes.
you know,
Yes. Yes.
to
You know what I
you're
mean?
here, and tomorrow you're here, and now you are here.
And the next day, and the next day,
And
Mom
the
G on a corner ula, and I
next-
go there, and you're here. It's like,
you know,
yo,
but so
I love you, but
exactly. You know, and you can't go out, you can't, you know, we would go out, go to Jameli, have a drink, laugh, talk. Now we can't do anything. Now we're like,
yeah, yeah.
hey, we're sitting. So
Mm,
what
mm,
what have
mm.
you done to mitigate for that? What are you doing differently? And I know you and Renee, I mean, you're wonderful. You're one of those wives who actually thanks your husband publicly. You know, I
Mm.
remember there was a post, I think in June it was, where you were like, thank you for taking care of me emotionally. So, you know, you do
Yeah.
actually thank him. But what are some of the things that you've had to do, and some of the things that personally as Mpho, but also as a couple, to
Yeah.
help you weather this situation we're in?
We talk a lot more. My husband is one person who generally keeps to himself and he suffers alone, you know. So I've had to learn to, or also he's had to learn to open up a little bit more. So we talk a lot more than we used to before. But the nice thing as well, we've had to learn to take time out, even though we're in the same house as the kids, you know, to be able to say when the kids go to bed, we need to do something for us. So we'll have our little date nights. You know, we've had picnics in the yard. We've had picnics in our bedroom. So we do little things that are there for us to catch up. You know, on a Sunday, for instance, we would sit. The kids know, come 5 o'clock, we disappear. That's our time. You know, we go watch series together. We go watch whatever is on TV that we're finding enjoyable. So it's the little things, man, you know, going for a walk together around the estate. So for me, it's those little things that I found matter so much to me. And every once in a while he will go out to go buy bread and he'll come back and he's got like flowers. He knows I love flowers. So that, and you know, having bought the little chocolate, you know, it's just the little things that have made me feel like this guy absolutely still loves me. We could be in the same house, my phone will ring and it's him calling me from downstairs just to say I love you.
Oh,
You know, he's a
that's so
gem, man.
sweet. Ugh. The women right now going,
No, he's a gem.
stabbing their
I hate you.
and
But you know, to be honest with you, Lerato, to be honest with you, when it comes to romance, that's a journey I've had to walk with my husband step by step because he's not a romantic type. So romance never came naturally to him. I've had to literally educate him to say, these are the things that I like. I like it when you do this because it makes me feel good. You know, when the little things that make me feel like you thought about me when you left the house or when you were wherever. So trust me, girls, it did not come naturally. It's been a 10-year process.
Siyasebenza, girl. We're like,
hey,
we're gonna get here, brother.
Exactly.
And I think this is something that a lot of women should understand, that women are protective of their relationships because of the investment that it is put in a relationship. So there's a
exactly
like, Sissy, please understand you're getting in the way of how I'm feeling right now because of the investment that I put into my relationship. But then the downside, when we were talking about this off camera, is that both of you guys are public, right? So, you know, unfortunately, people have opinions. So I know they say opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. So
everyone has one.
But that also means that protection, because sometimes with social media, we're all quiet. You're like, you know, this is not worth my energy. And other times you've got to just read somebody their rights. You've got to just be like, you have the right to remain silent. You know what I mean? Yeah. So how do you judge when it is time for you to say something? When it's time for you to be like, actually, you're not going to talk about me or my family like that?
I think more than anything, it's when you're touching certain spaces that I've never shared or made accessible to the public. For instance, I talk a lot about my kids on social media. You know, I make fun of my children all the time. And I very rarely really talk about my husband. But then if you're going to come at me like you know what is happening in my household, like you're sitting in my house with me and my husband, then we have an issue because you are crossing a boundary that I never opened up to you. Yeah. So those are those moments where I'm like, you know what, I understand that me and my husband are, you know, public figures, and I get that generally comes with people feeling like there's certain things about me and even my relationship that they think they have ownership of. I understand it. I respect that. But in that, respect me and my relationship as well. You know, so that's it. It's just the basics of ungadluli, boundaries. You know the boundaries. Know that there's certain spaces that you're just not allowed in.
No.
You know?
No.
And so I think it's those moments when I feel like you've passed the boundary that I'm like,
no,
reel it in.
Let me read you your rights. And you know what I always say to people? Yeah. People always say to me, yo, I'm like, please understand. I left the hood. The hood never left me. I made a choice to get out of the hood. But it was inside of me. And
but also beyond that.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I've also realized that so often people feel like they're entitled to say stuff about our lives, but we're not allowed to defend ourselves. And I've made a conscious effort that, one, I'm on social media by choice. I'm not forced to be on social media. I'm using my own data. I'm using my own time, my own energy, and therefore, you are not going to come into my home, because literally that's what you're doing via
Yes,
your phone. You're coming
my
into my
space.
home and you're disrespecting me. So I'm not going to allow that. I will not be bullied on social media. I was bullied a long time ago when I was in school. At my old age, I'm not going to allow a
Oh
stranger to bully me. So I
no,
refuse. I
no,
refuse. Ngimdala. Ngimdala.
exactly. No ways. And I think it's a nice
No.
segue to talk about social media and your children,
Mm.
because I think you have a family Instagram page, Hunting Ground, I think it is, with the six. Am I saying
Yes,
it correctly?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
And it's a
Yes, you're
wonderful.
right. Hunting
Oh,
ground.
yay! And one of the things you did is you had a conversation with Kinelwe about should your parents look at your DMs, and her answer for me was
Oh.
very truthful, and I understand it because in a way when you're 13, that's when you're like things are happening to you that you might want to ask your mom about, but not necessarily have her know about. But at the same time,
Exactly.
we are older and we know the pitfalls of people that may come at children in the wrong way, So,
Mm-hmm.
but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, and I'm not trying to diss anyone, there are celebrities, who'll put an emoji over their kid's face. And you know what I mean?
Yes.
We know.
Yeah.
So the people who are just like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
protect my children. I don't want anybody to see them. And yet I also think there's an affirming thing for people to see how you parent. What was the thing that made you go, I
Mm.
actually don't mind having Ginelwe and Tato talk to me, talk to people, um, and us be a family on social media?
I think more than anything, I don't know. I don't know if it was even a conscious decision. More than anything, I've realized that people are very fascinated by me and my family and my household. And as much as I'd love to share a lot of things, there are a lot of things that remain with us, but then there's certain aspects of us that I don't mind sharing. One of them being how I am parenting Kinelwe, because so many people just don't understand how I call her my daughter, how we have a good relationship, and she's not my biological daughter. So people still have that, how are you doing it? And this is just an insight into, it's easy. If your heart is pure and you really just want to forge a good relationship with your child, that's what will happen. You will have a great relationship.
Yeah.
It's just about putting in the work, the same way that you put in the work into a relationship with your partner. You also have to do the same thing with your children, be they biological or not.
Yeah.
So for me, that was a great platform to just show that you just have to put in the work. And she's such a smart girl.
Yeah.
She'd wanted a YouTube page, but I was like, you're
Mm-mm-mm.
not getting him. No. So because of that, I then decided, let's create this page, which is going to be a safe space for you. I know that even those who might want to bully you will be less reluctant to do so, knowing that I'm behind
Oh,
the
yes.
keyboard, you know.
Oh, yes.
Um, so for her, it was more creating a safe space for her to be able to give her opinion and talk about issues that she feels matter to her, because
Yeah.
she drives that entire conversation, you know.
I love that. I absolutely love that. I
Mm.
I saw a tweet between you and Hero. We all follow each other, and
Yeah.
Hero was talking about co-parenting and how it's not easy.
Yeah.
And you, I think, commented and said, "Well, once everybody sort of knows what lanes they're on, I'm paraphrasing, but once everybody knows what their role is, then the
Yeah,
whole thing
it
is
becomes easier.
yeah." And I
Yeah.
know, having had to co-parent for the last couple of years, that the first couple
Mm.
of years are bambiñana, so
Yeah, no, they're very tricky. Yeah, no, they're
bit
very tricky,
tricky at the
because you
beginning.
must prove yourself. You must,
Exactly.
you're literally jumping through hurdles, guys. The first couple of years, hey, you
You
jump through
know,
hurdles, eh?
and those hurdles are
Yeah,
also like, how much do you discipline because of,
yeah,
non-biological, biological, but also it's your house and essentially your
yeah,
child, and
yeah.
rules are rules. So how long did you end up, because a lot of people, I think, at the beginning of lockdown, we were really struggling with the co-parenting thing because the government was like, well, Shalani, she now.
If your child is with you, you're stuck with them.
A lot of people are like, well, we want the daddy to come help also. So how long did it take you to, all of you, everybody who's a co-parent, to get to a groove? And do you have any advice for people in terms of how to get to that maturity stage? Because it is going to be immature for a while before it gets mature.
True. That's true. That's true. I'm not sure how long. I've known Ganelo since she was 4 years old. And I got to know her for about 5 years. And then at some point, me and her dad broke up. But even during that time, I was still very much a part of her life. You know, that was something I didn't yank myself out of her life. But in terms of the process of me dealing with her mom, I think on my side, to be very honest, it was a little bit easier because Ganelo has always been staying with her paternal grandmother, my husband's mother, since she was very, very young. So literally, it was just a matter of stepping in, and this is how we're going to raise our children together. So in terms of her mom, we do have a relationship, but it's not a hectic relationship.
Yeah, you're
where
not sitting and
she has to
wine.
call.
Yeah.
No. We're very cordial with each other. You know, when we do meet, it's hi, how are you? We're good. If she wants something, she can always contact my husband because they have a far better relationship than I do with her. And I respect that because in the beginning, to be honest with you, I had wanted to have a relationship with her, and I felt like I was forcing things. Up until such a time, my husband said, if the relationship is going to happen, allow it to happen naturally. And once I decided to let go, everything just fell into place. You know, we just have our own relationship that makes sense to both of us. It's not the most ideal, but it works, you know, because for me, the most important person is our daughter.
Exactly.
You know, as long as she's happy, I'm happy.
Exactly.
Us being friends and being chummies and being buddies, it's neither here nor there.
No.
Honestly.
No, and I'm with you. I'm with you. I also had to learn that. I had the opposite of you. So I didn't want to force a relationship because I think that sometimes we blur the lines when we start thinking that we are friends. However, what we are is guardians who are responsible for a child who is in all-out care. So that is the star of the show. You are not the star of the show. I'm not the star of the show.
True.
You know what I mean?
True.
That is really helpful. If you are trying to force a relationship and you are co-parenting, I can tell you, you are going to struggle because we cannot.
That is true.
Because you're asking a person to be friends with somebody they don't necessarily want to be friends with. You know what I mean? So.
And somebody that, and also I had to realize that there's also dreams that died along the way.
Exactly.
You know, she had her own dreams and aspirations for this relationship with this person into whose life you're suddenly in. So at some point, I also had to learn that you are partly living her dreams that died along the way. So I needed to respect that and say, okay, I'm now in this space. I'm going to be a good mother as I can to your child, but without necessarily making you feel like, I won and you lost, because then you're gonna have a really, really tough time, you know. So I had to respect her as much as, you know, she had to respect me being in this space now.
And I think that acknowledgement also goes for the other woman. I think it's important to let the mother of the child get to the level of comfort she wants to get to. So I think you are not replacing her. I think, sisters, if you think that the child
we need to know that
more, you're going to replace her, you are confusing the child. Don't you agree, Mpho? That's not what you're there to do. You are a bonus mother.
I agree.
Not the mother.
Right? I agree. Yeah. Oh, I love that. You are literally a bonus mother. You are not a replacement for the mother. So that's another thing that a lot of women need to get to grips with. Just because the child is living under your roof with you does not mean that the mother does not exist. So you still need to encourage your child to have a relationship with their biological mother.
Exactly.
That always has to be encouraged. So sometimes people want to replace. The moment you're trying to replace, you're gonna have a problem.
No.
Because that's a whole living human being. You cannot replace another human being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're confusing the child whom you love. I think it's
Exactly.
important for Ginelwe to feel like she can speak to you openly, but that you are not now jostling for attention with like her mother.
No.
You are her mother, but all of you guys, there's enough space. Like the heart is amazing. There's enough room to accommodate
Exactly.
everyone. And in terms of
Yeah.
your relationship with her, has it gotten better with time also, and her relationship with Tato as well? Because when I watch your videos on Hunting Ground, I'm like, wow, there are so many people who want to get here, and you can't do this without the fighting and the my child, your child nonsense, where we become a family. And we're African people. As African people, this comes naturally to us. We call our cousins brothers.
True.
You know, we say my cousin brother.
True.
So this should be natural to us, but we, for some reason, like I don't understand that mentality. So how have you fostered their relationship as well to help them understand we don't use step whatever? This is your sister. This is your brother.
I think for to be very honest, for the longest time, I think it comes from me, for one, calling Ginelwe my daughter as opposed to my stepdaughter.
Yeah.
I think had I called her my stepdaughter, then probably Tato would have followed suit and called her stepsister. Exactly. But the one thing that's been very clear, made very clear in this house, the word step does not exist. You know, your brother is your brother, your sister is your sister, I'm your mom, you know, he's your dad, and that's it. So this step word, I don't understand it, because what is a step?
What is a step?
What is a step?
No, Asia.
Like,
no, sorry.
Exactly. So I made that very, very clear from the beginning that this is your sister and that's that. You know, she has another brother, but they have their own relationship. And to her, again, I said, that is not your stepbrother. That is your brother. You know, the same way that you have a brother in this house, when you go home to visit your mom, you have another brother, and that's it. You know, so this whole step idea, I understand.
And I say yes, guys. It's un-African. But before Mpho Letsholonyane, there was Mpho boy, right? And a lot of women say, I don't want to give up my name because my name itself, and I don't mean this in a corny way, but like I mean it, the name is a brand within itself. Did you ever wrestle with that? Do I keep it? Do I not? Or am I Letsholonyane?
It never even came to mind. Hey, I'd made up my mind that when we do get married, I'm going to be Mrs. Letsholonyane, and that's it. And I never even thought about it. It wasn't even a discussion. It was just one of those where I'm like, no, I want to be a wife. I want to be wholeheartedly in it. And the one thing I made very clear to him, I said, when I do change my surname to your surname, just know that I'm rebranding myself. And in me rebranding myself, that means Ketile.
Yeah.
Divorce is not even an option. I am like, no, bro.
No.
When we do this the right way. And we do it for life. So if we're doing the, like, just be sure when you say, I want you to be my wife, be sure. Uguti, there is no no. Because I'm literally rebranding. So no, I'm not playing that divorce game.
I love that. And I think you kind of echo what many other people feel now, that because people used to say, oh, our parents used to get married for long and long, and we all can. It's just you have to make the decision. Yeah. Because it's a journey that you walk together, right? When you commit to the fullness of the person. So, you know,
I mean, I see my parents celebrating almost 40 years of marriage, and I sit back and I'm like, wow, you guys have been through the most. Like, I've watched my parents go through the absolute most. I've watched my parents go through my dad losing his job and my mom being the sole breadwinner. I've watched my parents go through, you know, the worry of my brother being in hospital, and they come out, and you know, I find I I rub people up the wrong way. For instance, when I call my husband my boyfriend, but that's what my parents do. You know, almost 40 years married, my mom still calls my dad her boyfriend. You know, and my dad sometimes says, "Oh, chubalaka." You know, for me it's like baya chola.
Chola. That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Baya chola.
Chola.
So that's what I want, man. I want us to jola for the rest of our lives, because
Yes.
sometimes that's a mistake that we make. We get into these long-term relationships, you get married, and suddenly you want to emulate your parents. Why? They
Exactly.
live their own lives.
Yep.
They've had their best lives. Why must you emulate them? Why must you now behave like a wife? I do. Whoa.
Exactly.
Be
No.
you.
No.
Be
Sifuna
you, because that's what
umjolo
he
in
fell
a
in love with.
marriage. Sifuna umjolo in
Yes.
a marriage.
Mina ngifuna ukujola forever and ever and ever.
Exactly. So how do you pour into yourself? You have so many roles. You've got like, you know, your sister Tulele, you are like a mother, you're a wife, you're a working woman. At some point, and this is something that women suffer from, you give so much to other people that you forget to pour into yourself. And it is nice to love your children and to love your husband, but before they came along, there was you. And what do you
True.
do to keep Mpho alive in there so that she doesn't disappear within the many roles that she has to fulfill as a human being?
I read. I read a lot. I love to take baths. I'm a water baby, so I love to take baths. I'll sit in the bathtub and I'll light candles all around me, and I'll watch Netflix on my iPad. You know, so I take those moments, and more than anything, along the years, it's taken me a while to have guilt-free me time, because whenever I would have my me time, I would feel as though I'm taking away time from my children or time from my husband. So I've had to literally, you know, reel it in and say, it's my time
Mm.
and I'm entitled to this time, you know. And my husband knows on days when I'm like, today I don't feel like cooking. He's like, okay, cool, I'll cook, you know. So we've also learned to have that sense of honesty. I'm depleted. I have nothing else to give. I need to, you know, rein myself in a bit. He allows me those moments. The same way I allow him those moments. So I'm more in tune with myself now than I have been ever in my life, because this has been such a difficult period where I've had to literally dig deep in order to give more of myself than I've ever given before. So I've had to say, okay, I just want to lock myself in my bedroom and read a book until I pass out, and it's okay.
And it's fine. And you don't have to be
It's fine.
the everything to everyone all the time. And like
Yeah.
women, you
Yeah.
need to hear this. Like you need, I think women, you need to hear this. We're talking about this today with Mpho because there are many of you who are pouring into other people and there is nothing left. You're operating on fumes. Please just let yourself
We romanticize strength,
Yes, yes,
especially as Black women. We romanticize the idea of you have to be strong, you have to be resilient, you have to be, you know, a hero to everybody. But we forget that at the end of the day, you are still human,
still
you
human.
know, and you need to take care of yourself.
Exactly. And I think this
Yeah.
is not because there is COVID. You should not
Hmm.
romanticize your strength, the strong black woman.
Yeah.
You should not be doing that at all.
Oh,
Because
please.
what that means is that
Mm-mm.
it invalidates you when you are not feeling okay, when you are feeling tired and
Yes.
exhausted. Don't
Yeah.
invalidate your feelings. Like just own it. There's nothing wrong with I'm not coping. I want to sleep. I need people to take
Yes.
care of me. It's
Yes.
normal, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
so there's a lot that has happened over the last couple of weeks, and unfortunately, part of those things is losing an icon like Bob Mabena, whom you work with. And
Mm.
for me, the shock. Uh,
Oh yeah.
I actually don't have the words to express it. You know, there's so many of us who were growing up
Mm.
who listened to Bob. Me and my dad, who passed on 8 years ago, he used to drive with me in the 90s to school, and we would be playing Bob, and he was just so amazing. He took risks. He rapped when he wanted to rap. You know, the jammer. He allowed us to see that you can just fail, but fail forward. You know,
Yeah.
what have you
Yeah.
learned from this hectic time where people are losing loved ones? You know, people are sick, and we're all really affected by this time. I want to reiterate that there is nobody who's not affected by this. So how have you
True.
facing this difficult time for all of us? You know, losing people left, right, and center. It's shocking.
Yeah. You know, the biggest thing that I've learned, and I remember speaking to my bestie, who's also was good friends with Bob, and we spoke about how Friday Bob was on air. Monday, fine, we'd heard he was in hospital over the weekend. Monday, he's out of the hospital, and then boom, Bob is gone. And you realize just how we take life for granted, hey? Because he had a meeting scheduled with Bob for the Thursday of that week. And for Bob to also pass away on his birthday was just an epiphany of, we make so many future plans, and so often we forget to live today.
Hey, the present
Because
moment.
we live so much. Yes, we live so much in the future. So my biggest takeaway from Bob's passing has been that I need to live a lot more in the present. You need to be in the moment as much as possible. And another thing I've learned from COVID is to tell those I love a lot more often that I actually love you. You know, that's another thing we take for granted. We assume that people know how we feel about them. We assume that they know that they are special and they mean everything to us, yet we don't tell them. So I tell people now that you matter to me. You know, I care about you. Just know that. I'm a lot more expressive than I used to be, even though a little less in public.
Yes.
In my private space, I'm a lot more expressive, because I've learned these days that, you know what, being too expressive in public is not always a good idea. So I'm expressing less in public, but a lot more in my private space, and telling people that I love them, and just wanting to go out a lot more.
Me too.
I still can't.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll see you at level 0. I love eating out, but I'm like,
Definitely.
I was at level 0. We are getting together, but it's not. And I am gonna go out more as well, because I'm like you. I'm very insular. I like being at home. And when I do go out, it's like those intimate things where there's like 2 or 3 of us and we're having dinner. That's what I like. I'm not you know. I think we used to do that back in the day. We don't do that anymore.
Exactly.
So my last question to you is, knowing everything that has happened this year, and the thing about the present moment, right, is that's why I call this podcast Relevant, because relevance is about the current moment. It's about everything that is connected in the right now, not in the past that has already happened, and the future that is coming. It is in the now.
Still to come,
What are you going to do differently? You're turning 40 in September, and we're probably going to be in this lockdown for a little longer than we want, and we won't be able to travel for as long as we would like. Certain sport activities are going to come back from September, so there'll be some activity. What are you hoping for yourself, for your family, and for South Africa? Like, what are you going to do differently now going forward?
I want to take more risks. I find that I always say the worst that someone can say is no. Yet at the same time, I'm always afraid to approach certain people. I'm always afraid to pitch certain ideas. And I've decided no more. Like I say, the worst someone can say is no. Exactly. So I just want to be that risky person that lives to the fullest. And I want to be like Bob, man. There's so many things I want to do that I've been afraid to do, because you are afraid, what are people going to say?
Exactly.
Screw them. Just do you. You know,
Exactly.
people will talk anyway, whether you do the
Exactly.
right thing or you do the wrong thing. They are going to talk. So, yeah. For instance, I want a talk show. Not a radio talk show. I've been watching a lot of a certain a talk show, and every time I watch this talk show, there is a voice in my head that says, "You should be doing this."
Yes.
I'm going to pitch that idea because I want to do it. It's something I've said for so many years that I want a television talk show, but I've been afraid to chase it. I'm going. I'm going for it now.
And you will
I'm
be
going for it now. What do I want for?
You'll be
I'm
sensational.
gonna. I I want to do it so badly. I'm so tired of seeing. I'm tired of being seen as one-dimensional, because another thing I've realized, once you get into sport, then everyone just assumes that's it, that's your life, that's who you are. And there's so much more to me than just, there's so much more to me than just being a woman in sport, and I want to be able to explore that side of me a lot more, and laugh more. At a point I was made to feel like I need to be so self-conscious of the fact that I laugh a lot, and I felt, why must I be self-conscious of the fact that I laugh a lot?
Exactly.
Anyone who has issues with someone who laughs all the time, there's something wrong with them.
You are
not
miserable.
Me. Oh, miserable, you know what I mean? and also learning to trust my voice. When I left Metro, part of the reason I was let go of is because I was told I'm too opinionated. And I've realized there's nothing wrong with being opinionated. I just need to really learn to trust my voice a lot more.
Yeah.
And anyone who has issues with me, hi Joe, it's okay. Uzoba right. Uzoqina.
Exactly. Uzoqina. Yeah, man, I think
Uzoqina.
Thank you, Mpho. Thank you so much. I want to say to you that I also had a fuck it moment. Hey, man. Hey, man, I'm going to cut my hair. Hey, man, I want to talk to people for a living. Hey, man, I'm going to start this podcast, and maybe let's do it. You die once, but you live every single day. So let's live with intention.
That's true.
Let's live with joy. Let's laugh a bit more. I can't wait to see you, give you a hug, laugh for hours and hours, make people wonder what are they laughing about.
Yes.
And I just want to say you are just a light. You are a gift. You truly are the embodiment of your name. You are a gift. We're lucky to have you. May the gods of grace keep you and protect you and your family. And or at least the audience member when you get the show, ne?
Done. Consider that done. No, thank you so much for having me. I really, really do appreciate it. And thank you for being such a great friend. Whenever I've needed that ear, you're always just a phone call away. So thank you. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. I love you. I honor you, and I praise you, and I can't wait to see you.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And all the best with the podcast. I hope it grows into a proper show.
Thank you.
I want to see you on Netflix.
Yes. Thank you. I received the blessing.
Done.
Bye, Mpho.
Bye.
Bye.